It's all coming in. I think the people understand it. I think that in many ways we're stronger now than ever before. They understand the deception and the horror that these people put this country through. It's really very sad, actually.
Let me go into this double standard issue that I've been discussing here, and that is, we went through 3 years as a country, and I covered it almost every night. Every major newspaper, 2 cable networks that are nothing but Democratic propaganda, ABC, NBC, CBS, they all got it wrong about Trump-Russia collusion. But now we know the truth. We know that Hillary Clinton paid for the dirty Russian misinformation dossier that even Christopher Steele doesn't stand by, and the subsource doesn't stand by. That dossier she paid for was then used to spy on you as a candidate, and a FISA court was lied to. And then it was used again to spy on you in your transition phase and then as a president. And we also know that money from Russia made it to a prominent political family in America. That would be Hunter Biden's family. That would be Joe's son. Now, again, I ask you, that wasn't the coverage for 3 years while you were in office, actually 4 if you want to include Ukraine. What do you make of the double standard? Some people even get Pulitzers over such phony coverage.
Well, they did get Pulitzers, and it turned out to be they got Pulitzers for absolutely incorrect and opposite reporting. It was horrible reporting. And there are many people that should have gotten Pulitzers where they had it right, but they were not considered, and it's a disgrace. I think Pulitzer is another one that's been disgraced by this whole last 4.5-year period, 5-year period. But literally from the day of that wonderful ride down the escalator, from that moment on, investigation after investigation, and the people that were guilty, they just float right through. How it wasn't done. DOJ didn't do anything about it. I guess they felt they want to be soft. This group doesn't feel that way. But you know what? I let that up to DOJ. I let that up to the people running DOJ. And I wasn't involved. I would say that probably maybe less involved than I should have been. And maybe I should have been forcing it. But a lot of very guilty people were not in any way prosecuted. And I'm talking about very, very serious things. If you look at Comey and McCabe and the 2 lovers and all of the things that went on, and they weren't prosecuted. If you read the Horowitz report, and of course, everyone's still waiting for Durham. What happened to Durham? How is that allowed to go into another administration?
By the way, is he in the witness protection program? I'd like to know where he is, too. Is he in the witness protection program? I don't know. He disappeared.
To be gone. And there was but you didn't even have to go into Durham. You could have just taken the Horowitz report. And I have a lot of respect for Mr. Horowitz, the IG. And he wrote a report that was devastating to Comey and devastating to McCabe, and they didn't do anything with it. It's incredible, actually. Incredible. Very sad. They're very sad for the country. But, you know, I guess they felt they shouldn't. And yet this administration feels the exact opposite. If people don't do anything wrong, they want to go after them. Big difference. And it's, you know, it's a tough standard. But hopefully you have an attorney general now that will be fair. But I will say that the people running the Justice Department and the people in it, don't forget, you have tens of thousands of people, and they were put there by Obama. They were put there by everybody. They were put there by a lot of people that came, including Clinton. But they were also put there by Bush. And, you know, you see what goes on with that whole group. So you have a lot of people put in there by Bush and Clinton. You put there by Obama, and then you put some in yourself, and you can't do anything about it, I guess. I don't know. But I think that they were very, very soft, and maybe rightfully so, but they were very, very soft, and probably they wanted to be very fair. But a lot of people don't look at it that way. It's a shame. There was such guilt, and such a horrible thing happened. They were spying on my campaign. You know, if you think about it, all the way back, almost at the beginning, when I made a statement that my campaign was spied on, it was one of the biggest moments. It was nobody could believe it. Then it turned out that it was more than spied on, much worse than being spied on. But they didn't do anything about it. And to me, that's a terrible thing for our country.
I don't see that Biden got anything from Putin. And I can't believe that American energy workers were were, with a stroke of a pen, lost their high-paying career jobs for the same exact thing, the waiver that Biden gave on Nordstrom. I can't believe it. Let me ask you this. If you were still president, would you have given that waiver? And secondly, what would you be doing about the cyber attacks that are ongoing? Colonial Pipeline, the attacks on our meat industry. How would you be handling that with Putin?
Well, in the waiver, nobody really understands that I was the one that stopped it. I stopped it from being built. And I went to Germany and I said, listen, we protect you with NATO at a very low cost, and they're very delinquent. You know, they're only paying half of what they're supposed to be paying, and what they're supposed to be paying is very low, 2%, and they're paying half. And so we protect you. We have 52,000 soldiers over there, which is like a major, major city, frankly. They make a fortune with us. And then they go and they pay Russia billions and billions of dollars for energy. So I said, so let's get this straight. To Angela, I said, we protect you, and the people that we protect you from, the country, you're paying billions of dollars. How does that work? And there are others. So I got NATO to pay $430 billion more than they were paying, because the United States was paying for almost all of it. I mean, think of it. We pay for their protection, and they, excuse the word, they screw us on trade. That's the only word that's really descriptive enough, because they are in many ways worse than China or as bad as China on trade. How many Chevrolets are being sold in Berlin? Not too many. How many Chevrolets are being sold in Paris? Not too many, maybe none. And yet we sell their products, their wines and their cars and their Mercedes and their BMWs and everything else. We sell it all over our country. And all of that was stopping. We were ready to go. And then we got hit by the pandemic. And nobody did as good a job with the pandemic as we did. And that's why we're leading the world in terms of coming back. And that was all set long before Biden came in, including the fact that we came up with vaccines in less than 9 months, when a lot of people, everybody said it was going to take 3 to 5 years and you probably wouldn't be successful. And if we weren't successful, Sean, I'll tell you this, you would have another 1917 tragedy where almost 100 million people died. But we were successful, so it was a great thing.
Let me ask you, in your summits and in your conversations with Putin while president, what did you learn about him? Have you spoken to him since you left office? And was it a mistake for Biden not to hold that joint press conference with Putin?
I got along really well with him. Nobody was tougher on Russia. He would say that, but nobody was tougher on Russia. You never heard of Nord Stream. You never heard of all of the things that we did in terms of sanctions, so many sanctions. And I was loving the idea of taking them off. I would have loved to have taken them off as soon as they got their act together. I think we had a great shot at having an unbelievable relationship with Russia. It could have been fantastic. It could have been really beneficial to both countries. You know, they need economics and we need things that they have, where they have very valuable land in terms of mineral rights and many other things. And a lot of good things could have happened. I had a very good relationship with Putin, but nobody treated him tougher. He understands. Nobody ever heard of the pipeline until I got involved. And I said, wait a minute, the pipeline's going to Germany and all over Europe. What's going on? Why are we protecting you people? You know, again, and it was just unbelievable. I got so much for that. And to give up the stoppage, I mean, I stopped it. And to give it up, and then if you see what they did, and the number is really 48,000, not 8,000, but you see what they did with the Keystone XL pipeline, where they stopped it almost on the first day. And that was never mentioned during the debate. I kept saying, you know, you're not going to be energy independent. You're not going to do for Pennsylvania, for Texas, for all of these places where we're doing so well with energy. We're not going to be energy independent in 2 months from now. They're making windmills all over the place to ruin our land and kill our birds, to kill everything. We're not going to be, and they're very intermittent, as you learned from watching over the last 4 months. It's intermittent energy. It's not good. It's not going to power our great factories. And it's a real problem.
Yeah. There was a question of whether Ukraine would join NATO. And Biden's answer is they have to clean up corruption. And, okay, so they can't join NATO because they got to clean up corruption. But his son made a fortune, and he leveraged $1 billion and bragged about it of U.S. tax dollars. And this is a big issue to you because you went over an impeachment over this. Leveraged $1 billion to get a prosecutor in Ukraine fired. He's got 6 hours to do it, and son of a bee, they did it. Now, I'm just imagining if they're too corrupt to join NATO, how come it's okay then for Hunter to make all that money when he admitted on Good Morning America he had no experience in energy, gas, Ukraine, and got millions of dollars? What if your son's got millions of dollars for that with no experience?
Well, when he said that, I was very surprised that he said it because he said basically Ukraine is corrupt. And that was the whole purpose of what was going on. And frankly, we had an obligation, even a legal obligation. You know, we have an agreement signed with Ukraine. And that agreement says you got to be honest. You got to run a straight country. And they don't do that. And when I saw that statement, I was surprised because I guess you hear different numbers, but it's $183,000 a month for his son to consult on energy from an energy company in Ukraine, to consult on energy, but he admits that he knows nothing about energy. The whole thing is just terrible. The money from Russia, $3.5 million from the wife of the mayor of Moscow, the former mayor of Moscow. We no longer have a fair and free press, whether you like it or not. And I hate to say it to you because you're a big believer in the press, despite what you go through. But we no longer have a free and fair press.
I said in 2007, sir, I wish I came up with fake news, but I did say journalism in America is dead, and I don't think I was wrong. I think I probably understated it. Let me ask this, because last week, Joe Biden said to our military that global warming was the biggest threat they faced. The week before, he had said white supremacy is the biggest threat to America. I don't know. I think China, Russia, North Korea, the Iranian mullahs might be bigger threats, radical Islamic terrorism. What's your reaction to that answer?
Well, he said that the military told him and the generals that, which was, I can't believe that, but maybe, but they shouldn't be working as generals any longer, that global warming is our biggest threat. Now, when you look at China and you look at the military apparatus, which I was really doing a big job on, I have a very good relationship there, too, and it was a fantastic relationship until COVID or the China virus came in. And after that, you know, we made a great trade deal where the farmers of this country and the manufacturers are doing fantastically because of that trade deal. Farmers are doing better than they've ever done now. And that's because of what I did, not because of what these guys did. And we did a fantastic thing. But when you look at it and when you look at what happened, Sean, and you see that horrible thing that came at us from China and came at us from the Wuhan lab, it changed my whole line of thinking. And you just, I really hope and I believe it was an accident. It was incompetence. I guess some people don't necessarily agree with that. They think maybe there was purpose to it, which would be absolutely terrible. But we have to find out more about it. Why did it happen? How did it happen? How could anybody be so incompetent? And that is not a group of incompetent people. So,
well, Mr. President, can I add one thing here?
I believe it was a terrible accident, but I believe it came from the lab. And
why would you think it's an accident? We knew there was actually video out now of bats in the Wuhan virology lab. We knew that they studied coronaviruses, and we now know from the emails from the great Dr. Fauci, flip-flopper, that gain-of-function research was being done there. So it seems like the most logical conclusion. The only question is there a possibility that U.S. tax dollars help pay for the gain-of-function leading to COVID-19?
Well, we ended that, Sean, and when we heard about it, I ended that, but that started in 2014 under Obama, and when I heard about it, we ended it very rapidly. I said, can you imagine? And it wasn't even Wuhan. It was just that we were paying China on top of everything else. We're now paying for their research and other things ridiculous. So we ended that as soon as we heard about it. And we did a lot of things against China. Not that I want to be against China, because I had a great relationship with President Xi, a lot of respect for him. But I banned China from coming into the country very early, before anybody. Fauci and Nancy Pelosi was dancing in the streets of
January
Chinatown
31st.
and San Francisco, and they were all saying what I did was xenophobic and horrible and racist. And then they said 4 months later, I saved thousands and thousands of lives. But I banned China from coming in. And it's lucky I did. And then I banned Europe from coming in, because you saw what was happening, especially in certain countries in Europe. And I banned Europe from coming in. And everybody said that was terrible. But we saved tens of thousands of lives. And now we have to get back, and the schools have to get open. And frankly, we're lucky we have the vaccine. But the vaccine on very young people is something that you got to really stop. You have to get back to running your country. I mean, I don't see reasons, and I am a big believer in what we did with the vaccine. It's incredible what we did. You see the results. But to have every school child, where it's 99.99%, they just don't, they're just not affected or affected badly, having to receive a vaccine, I think is something that you should start thinking about, because I think it's unnecessary.
You want China to pay $10 trillion, don't you?
Well, the number is much higher than that, but there's only so much they can pay, and that's to us. And the world is, the number is bigger throughout the world. Look, countries have been destroyed over what they did. And whether by accident or not, and I would hope that it was accident, I hope that it was through incompetence or an accident. But when you look, whether it was by an accident, whether it was whatever it is, you look at these countries, they'll never, ever be the same. Our country was hit so hard, but other countries were hit much harder. Look at what's going on in India now. They used to say, oh, look how well India's doing, because they were always looking for an excuse. Look how well India's doing. The fact is that India's just been devastated now, and virtually every country has been devastated. No, I think that's one of the reasons that I feel it's very important to find out where it came from, how it came. I think I know. I mean, I feel certain about it. But certainly China should help. Right now, their economy and our economy are the two economies that are coming back the fastest. I mean, if you think about it, in certain ways, maybe they benefited very greatly. I mean, very, very greatly. And I can tell you they benefited with the U.S. because we were in a process of doing things where we caught up to China at a level that nobody thought was possible. And once the China virus came in, we had to take a very different look. The world changed. The whole world changed. You didn't think about the economics. You thought about saving people and saving lives. So the world changed. It was a whole different ball game. We did the great trade deal, a big piece of it, but we did the great trade deal, and it helped a lot of people, manufacturers and farmers in particular. But after that horrible disease floated in from China, however it came in, and it came in through numerous ways, once that disease came in from China, I had a whole different attitude. It was a terrible thing.
Let me go back to the campaign, and I'm going to play a tape for you here. I've compared Joe Biden. I've shown video of him from 2012, 2016. He lived in his basement bunker throughout most of the campaign in 2020. I used to argue he was in the big tech media mob protection program, and they let him hide and get away without answering many questions. Did the bare minimum of anybody campaigning. And I have a highlight reel that I put together, but I'm saving that for another day. But this happened at the G7. Joe's had a lot of these cognitive misfires, let's call it that. And this is the one that he had, because he had called Putin a killer. Then he was asked about it. He didn't want to give that answer because he's about to meet with Putin. And your reaction to Joe, and do you think he's up to the job physically, mentally? Let me play this.
Vladimir Putin laughed at the suggestion that you had called him a killer. Is that still your belief, sir, that he is a killer?
To answer the first question, I'm laughing too. Well, look, I mean, he has made clear that the answer is, I believe he is in the past essentially acknowledged that he was, there are certain things that he would do or did do.
You know, I do make fun of it, but in all seriousness, Mr. President, that scares the hell out of me. Have you noticed the same thing I see?
Well, maybe the only time I've ever disagreed with you is about the age, because I guess Joe is going on to be 79 fairly soon. And that's not old, relatively speaking. I know Bernie Marcus, a great gentleman, founder of Home Depot.
Bernie Sanders
92,
is older.
He's 100%. I spoke to him. He's 100%. And other people are in their 90s and 80s, and they're doing great. So, you know, his age is not the problem. And look, I hope he has no problems. I want him to do well. I want him to go out and do well. I think the election was unbelievably unfair, but I want this guy to go out and do well for our country. I don't want to see a scene like that. I watched that yesterday. I thought it was terrible. It was terrible. Nobody knew what was happening.
Let me move on to the economy. We now have inflation. We now have jobs that people aren't taking, and businesses now are turning down the federal government's extended unemployment benefits. The price of lumber through the roof. The price of gasoline up an average $1.10 per gallon. The price to heat and cool your home is up. The price of meat is skyrocketing. Lumber is skyrocketing. Every item that you buy in any store that is delivered by a truck, you are paying a lot more for. And I'm looking at it, and we're getting rid of energy independence, which you gave us as president for the first time in 75 years. What is your take on the state of the economy and the impact the current border crisis has on it? And I'll do a follow-up on that.
So the lumber is really a function of supply and demand. We have so much, but they're putting environmental restrictions on trees now that are so bad, and we're trying to make deals with Canada. I can tell you from personal experience, Canada is very, very tough. Canada is as tough as anybody. It's very unfair the way Canada treats us, and I had it down to a science. It was so good. We were doing so well. Everything was coming down. We signed the USMCA, Mexico, Canada, but we were not being taken advantage of anymore. And I was going to tariff the hell out of their cars coming into the United States if they did, and they knew it. And as soon as I left, they started playing games. And now you look at lumber prices, because we get a lot from Canada, and you look at what's going on with milk and the fact that they don't take us, but we take them. So many things they did to the farmer that I straightened out, and now it's going back to worse than it was because there's nobody there complaining about it. No, Canada treats this country very, very badly. So does Europe, by the way, and China you know about. But as I say, in many ways, Europe treats us just as badly as China.
Let me ask this question. And I want to ask it, and I'll ask you about 2022 and 2024 in a minute. It seems to me that conservatism, and I remember, and maybe you do it or you don't, when you were thinking about running for president, times that I'd interview you in private conversations we'd have at the time, I explained what I believed in. I really haven't changed much. I believe in liberty, freedom, capitalism, our Constitution, low taxes, less government interference, bureaucracy, a constitutionalist on the bench, school choice, law and order, safety and security so people can pursue happiness, free market solutions for health care, including protecting pre-existing conditions. I want secure borders. I absolutely, positively want energy independence for a lot of reasons, and free and fair trade and peace through strength. That pretty much sums up Sean Hannity's philosophy. There was talk that you are considering maybe laying out the Trump America First, Make America Great Again agenda. How close is my lifelong held beliefs to what you would put on paper if you ever considered it, and are you considering it?
Well, I am, and frankly, if you think of it, that's what I've been doing and talking about for a long time.
Like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notifications anytime I go live and make a video. Make sure you still subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment on this video, share this video.